So originally we weren't planning on creating an episode for the podcast. Well, not involving wrestling, but this is something very important that uh we just wanted to talk about. So uh a few days ago, wrestler Bray Wyatt unfortunately passed away, and uh it's kind of hard to talk about. Honestly, death itself is not a good it's not a it's not a pleasant subject to touch.
I agree. It's one of those things where it's it can be uncomfortable to talk about depending on the person and depending on the severity of the issue. And this is definitely a severe issue, unfortunately. Um, if anybody that doesn't know who Bray Wyatt is or was, unfortunately to say, Bray Wyatt, his actual name was Wyndham Rotunda. There's so much to talk about with this man. Unfortunately, for the cause of death, there's a lot going into it, but to kind of start out, Wyndham was an amazing, incredible, creative human being in general, and not just as a wrestler, but just in general as a person. He was fantastic. He had the mindset, he had the potential, whatever you could think of, just for being human in general, but especially for as being just as a wrestler in general with that, he had it all. Um, just the creativeness that comes from his mind is incredible because he was able to mold together such amazing storytelling when it came to being a part of WWE for the time that he was there for. And he has had an insane career. It's kind of crazy to think about because originally with his main character, that really wasn't a thing for his first couple of years from what I've seen. I've been recently watching like rewatching certain older stuff about Bray Wyatt. Originally when his name was Husky Harris, for example, in NXT. And man, it's crazy to see how far he's gone from Husky Harris to Bray Wyatt, the Eater of Worlds, for example, as another nickname that he's known famous for sure. But yeah, there's definitely plenty to talk about. If anyone else wants to chime in, they can.
Um, yeah, Bray meant a lot to me. I told you this, Lane. I'm not sure if I told you, Miguel. But basically, my grandfather was the one to get me into WWE. And we shared that together very closely. I'd actually go up to my grandparents every Monday, Friday, never on Sundays, unfortunately, because we couldn't order pay-per-view. But I would go up there and watch it with them, and for a long time, Undertaker was my number one favorite, and then 2013 came around, and they introduced the Wyatt family to the main roster, and of course this was led by Bray Wyatt. And my papaw knew exactly how much that meant to me because I just love the spooky type of characters and everything because I was a big horror fan. I'm a big horror fan, and this past year, my papaw passed away, and it it drained me. I didn't feel like I could love wrestling as much as I did when me and him were watching it together. But I was holding out hope that I would get to see Bray Wyatt, because around this time when my papa passed, Bray Wyatt took time off of TV, and nobody fully understood why. And this was before WrestleMania, and unfortunately, what was it, 2 days ago? I'm losing track.
What's today? So today's Sunday. About 3 days ago. I
3 days
remember
ago.
only because I was just about to go to my league that night for bowling, and David, that's when you were trying to call me. I was just getting off video games to get ready, and when I got your call, I missed it. And unfortunately, I wish I was able to just pick up the phone call. But when I got your text, I I thought you were pulling a joke on me, to be honest, because I was like, "There's no way. There's no way. This has got to be some like storyline of some sorts, right?" And when I figured out that this was just some real, authentic shit, I didn't even know what to say. I was speechless. I'm sure plenty of other people that care about wrestling and all that were speechless too. I even remember watching later on one of like Booker T's podcasts as well, and when he got told that he passed, he just didn't know what to say either. It's one of these moments where it's so difficult because Bray Wyatt was only 36 years old. He was still pretty young. Still had plenty of time for wrestling for sure. I didn't really see him retiring anytime soon. Granted, too, he was supposed to come back pretty soon. So unfortunately, going back in time, he he was unfortunately let go several years ago. I can't remember. Was it during 2020 or was it 2021?
2021, after he lost to Randy Orton at WrestleMania.
Okay, that's what I thought. So he was gone for about a year and a half, maybe something like that. So he came back at one point, and unfortunately, he came back. He had a match with LA Knight, which was very interesting. Like with no disrespect, it was definitely something very different. But at the same time, it was very entertaining. Still, it was a very entertaining match, 100%. I know some people had a hard time with it because of the whole concept behind it, and the concept, for anybody that is curious, it was called the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. So basically, LA Knight and Bray Wyatt had a match together where it was completely dark, and the only way that you could see each other is by wearing like iridescent colored stuff, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was very, very interesting. But what made it interesting was the fact that of what Bray Wyatt decided to wear as far as his mask goes at the end of the whole thing. It was crazy. In my opinion, I know some people just weren't too fond of the idea, but I liked what they were trying to do, but I more just enjoyed the ending of everything. It brought the storyline closer, and this is why Bray Wyatt is so unique, because horror and WWE don't usually mix very well. At least most people can't just mix them very well. And the only couple of wrestlers that I've seen do it so well is The Undertaker, Bray Wyatt, Kane, Finn Balor. Uh, Technically, I guess Mick Foley, when he was Mankind in a way, but that's pretty much it. It's a couple of guys out there, and it's been plenty of years since WWE has been around. So getting to see Bray Wyatt mix in the horror with wrestling in general is just crazy on its own subject.
Yeah. This is a tough one, really. Yeah, as you said, WWE doesn't really, well, wrestling and horror, the fans run side by side together, but sometimes they try to stay their own separate ways, and then you have these people, as you said, Undertaker, Kane, Bray Wyatt. They could mix in what they loved about that genre and put it into their characters so flawlessly, it seems. And especially like, no disrespect to Undertaker or Kane, because we know they're legends, we know their history, but what Bray Wyatt was building with his stories and his characters, he was creating a universe for himself in WWE, and it was a complex story. Some would even say complicated. You can call it that, but it had so many layers to it. And with WWE releasing Bray Wyatt back in 2021 and then bringing him back in 2022 as this pseudo version of himself that was trying to heal from what he was as the Fiend character. And then the Uncle Howdy storyline. It's truly tragic that we might not get a resolution to that, and Bray didn't get to finish telling the story he wanted to tell.
Yeah, exactly. It's even then, like, I know we're still talking about this shit, but I still have a hard time putting words into the whole subject, because it's like, fuck, how did this even happen? How does this happen? Out of all things that could happen during the history of fucking wrestling in general. But nah, just to add on, so basically going to the fact of what happened to Wyndham Rotunda, pretty much he did get hurt at one point. I think he did have like a minor injury. I think it was like a thumb injury or something like that, when he had his match with LA Knight. But then it turned into a worse scenario, unfortunately, and he was having heart issues. But for the longest time, these circumstances weren't talked about. They were just putting it as an undisclosed injury or illness. And so many fans and everybody was just confused. They're just wondering what's going on, like where is he at? And keep in mind, it was months down the road where still has not been around. And we're wondering, where's Bray Wyatt? Where's Wyndham? Where is he? What's going on? And supposedly it just seemed like a situation where he just didn't want people worried, so he just didn't want to just disclose what was going on. And so the heart issues became better at one point, but then unfortunately later on down the road, when he's looking to make his return once again, I'm assuming they were probably planning to have him back at the Payback pay-per-view, but before that, he got COVID, and it ruined his heart issues a little bit more, and it started to become more problematic. But he was recovering very nicely. He was starting to get healthy again, and out of nowhere, he had a heart attack and passed. And it's just the timing. The timing just sucks. It hurts. It hurts to just see how this goes because, like you said, David, the story is just never going to be brought to an end now. That's it. And it's unfortunate. Yeah, that's all I can say. It's just very, very difficult to deal with this whole situation. And man,
It doesn't even
it's
feel real.
been, yeah, it doesn't feel real. But you know what? It was a good ride nonetheless. It was a good ride for him. He had a great career, regardless of what has happened, unfortunately. But yeah. What are your thoughts, Miguel?
Well, as sad as it is to see somebody, especially somebody still technically young, 36 is way too soon for anybody to go. But although he did end up leaving us, unfortunately, at the end of the day, I'm still glad that he even walked with us. He gave us really good matches, a really good storyline. And as it was stated earlier, he pretty much he made the horror genre work in a business like wrestling, which not a lot of people can pull off. Yes, they can pull off um a spooky kind of vibe, but nobody could ever pull it off as Wyndham did.
No. There will never be another Wyndham Rotunda 100%. There's just never going to be a man like him, unfortunately.
And to even think that he, as I mentioned, he created a universe, but with you having creative freedoms, he did have some creative freedoms and everything. Actually, I'm pretty sure when he came back in 2019 with the Firefly Funhouse and the Fiend, Vince gave him the keys to the kingdom there for a while and let him just have at it. Let him do anything he wanted creatively. Whenever he first came back as the Firefly Funhouse host and the Fiend, and with you being given the keys, you know, there's pushback from people. There's pushback from people that gave you the keys in the first place. But Wyndham stayed true to himself no matter what. And he wanted fans to know that they were heard, that they were loved. Everybody talks about him in the locker room, and those fortunate enough and lucky enough to meet him, fan wise, they said he was a one of a kind man, and knowing that and I said this, Lane, sorry if I'm repeating myself, but you know, just the fact that fans, his friends, colleagues at work, and especially his family, that he left them. You know, we lost a wonderful soul, and it's been ringing true to me how precious and fragile life is, and that we should really be grateful for what we have here and who we have here on this planet, because we don't truly know when our time is. And you know, we a lot of us need to understand how much we should be appreciating life, because it's precious, and we only have one go around on this planet with the people that we consider our friends and family and loved ones, and we need to ride it to the fullest. And Bray Wyndham sure did that.
There will never be another Bray Wyatt. That's it.
Everybody should know that he was loved, and he will forever continue to be loved by everyone within the wrestling community. Thank you guys for listening, and well, thank you so much, Wyndham. Thank you so much, Bray Wyatt, for existing, for entertaining, being entertaining, and just thank you for everything that you have done.